This video is an uncut interview from Goliath documenting a giant.
Remember, I'm just the marketing guy, right? So.
Okay, I'm here with John Krajnak, Krajnak. I have to say that because I spelled Kregnih.
Okay, it's a tricky one for sure.
Yeah, on the number. So, have you ridden this ride already?
I have. I got to ride it last Friday. It's outstanding.
How do you like it?
I love it so much. It was great. I was so surprised at how much airtime you get. Just the inversions are incredible. The hills, the drop. It's just amazing. It's a fantastic ride.
Do you have a favorite element on this ride?
I gotta say the zero G roll probably is my favorite. It's tough because I love the drop so much. I love the airtime that you get, but that zero G roll just has you hanging out of your seat, and it's just so impressive. Real intense.
Can you explain the marketing aspect of this ride? Like, what are some of the things you guys did to market this ride, and how much it's impacted the turnstiles so far this year? And
definitely. It is, there are sometimes it's a little bit more of an effort to market a new product, a new capital project. This one is not the case. This one kind of markets itself. It is 3 world records. Tallest, steepest, fastest wooden coaster in the world. So you lean on those elements. You can talk about the inversions. There's so many things about this ride that can just make it such a draw, such an appeal to guests, to enthusiasts, to casual guests, to everybody, that really makes Goliath an easy sell for sure. So it is, we've seen the business has been strong so far, and we know now that the coaster's finally open that it's just going to get stronger. So we've been impressed with the number of people that have been out just to see it in its preparation stages. So now that it's open and available, we're ready to take off.
And what type of role did you play, like going to No Coaster Con and stuff like that?
Absolutely. When we have a project like this, a big roller coaster. Last year we're talking about Ignite. We'd love to go to No Coaster Con and talk about that because we know that our fans are fans of the park and everything that we're doing at Six Flags. But when you've got a record breaker like this, a roller coaster, you want to get out and shout about it. So we went to No Coaster Con here locally. Katie went out to No Coaster Con in Pennsylvania as well. A similar event that they have. I don't think it's No Coaster Con, but it's another convention out there, and it just spread the word far and wide. Today's show here yesterday didn't hurt. The national exposure that way, so the world is going to know about Goliath for sure.
Okay. And I asked Hank this question. I asked him if, obviously, Goliath is the name you guys chose for this ride. Do you recall any other names that you guys had in consideration for this ride?
Boy, Goliath came up pretty quickly. I mean, the process of this ride was fairly short from its development to the launch of the ride. Now, real quick turnaround. So we didn't hang on a whole lot of names. We didn't spend a lot of time on the naming considerations. Goliath was a natural because of the elements, because of being the tallest and steepest. That is just one of the biggest and best rides that we're going to put in. So Goliath fit. It's a name, as you know, that we've used in the Six Flags system, but it just certainly fits this ride. So it feels right.
And obviously,
how did Hank answer that question? Did he do okay?
Yeah, he said he didn't recall. Obviously you can't tell me too much about this, but where do you see the park in 5 years?
I think we like to have balance. This is unique for us a little bit that we put an X-Flight 2 years ago to follow up with another coaster just 2 years later. You like to balance the thrill product with the family product with water park. So I think in the next 5 years, it's probably what we'll see is a bit of balance. It is. We have a couple of ideas for some projects down the road, but it is. You always like to find the balance for all the guests that are coming to the park. So you have something for everyone, and that's what the proud part of Six Flags and what we offer to this market.
Okay, and a few more questions here. I guess this would apply to marketing. When you guys decided to put the upcharge on Hurricane Harbor,
sure.
What impacted that decision and why?
Well, I think really, what we look to do is provide a lot of value to our season pass holders. They're a very special group for us, a very important group. So to be able to enhance the visit out in Hurricane Harbor, to limit some of that just kind of walk-through traffic, people just casually wandering around, put a real modest upcharge on there, $5, and keep it free for season pass holders. So it adds value to that pass, and it makes for a better guest experience in the harbor. So it's not overly crowded with guests just kind of wandering through and maybe not experiencing all the water park products. So it seemed to be a smart decision, and we're going to wait and see how that works out this year. So far, so good.
And will we see Raging Cajun space used at all this season, or something?
I don't believe so this season. I think they looked at a couple of options back there, and I think they found some homes there was a stage that needed to be moved that was right out here in front of Goliath, and they found a new home for that. So that was one of the considerations. So I don't believe in 2014 you'll see that space utilized for anything. Still a nice looking facade right there, but it's a hole, and as you know, that's valuable real estate around here for sure. So.
And will we,
Sure, no problem. We need Bugs Bunny to come back in and get in the shot.
I think Bugs distracted the shot.
Right.
How does this in your eyes, how does this compare to X-Flight 2 years ago?
Well, so far what I've seen in the reaction to it is X-Flight was brand new technology, and the wing coaster concept, I think it took people a little while to understand what that is. But Goliath, to be able to say this is a wooden coaster, the world's tallest, steepest, fastest wooden coaster, guests can understand what that is right away, and the excitement just really took off on that. So whereas X-Flight, they had to understand what a wing coaster was before they could truly get as excited about it. But this one is really instant as soon as you start talking about it. You agree? Absolutely. Right. Thank you, Bugs.
Okay. Couple more questions here.
Sure.
Sorry if it goes a little long.
No problem.
Can you explain a few more things about, Sorry, I keep drawing a blank.
It's all right.
Just give me a second.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe the original design had this part all
Yes.
the lift, and when was it always a decision to have the steel going up in the Zero, was that something you guys changed?
It was a little bit of debate if that was a change or not. When we first introduced the ride back in August, the renderings were all of a traditional wooden roller coaster. And as we continued to see the engineering and the design of the ride, this came out in January of this year, we found out, and we embraced it. We saw it, and we thought how incredible this looked, so unique, different than the traditional wooden roller coaster, but it's kind of fitting of a world record breaker because I think it's much more intimidating.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
What's the point of design the whole thing?
It was very curious taking those original concept renderings and moving it to this, but it made me wish that we had this from the original, because it is just so impressive looking, so unique, and really kind of captures how unique and what a world record breaker this ride is. So, great question.
How will you know this ride is successful? I asked Hank this question, but in your opinion, how do you think this will be successful? Like, how will the turnstiles in the park tell it? Will the turnstiles for the ride tell it? Will the crowds tell it?
The turnstiles at the front gate. That's really what we're measured by. I think season pass sales as well are a good indication of people that want to come and ride it, and come back and ride it again, and come back for Fright Fest. But really, the guests coming out, and we measure our guest feedback, very closely. So the guest comments that we get through our surveys, through the front gate, everywhere, the guests will tell us instantly their thoughts on this ride, and so far the early returns are pretty positive.
Okay. Do one of you guys have a question? You guys? Okay. I have one last question, and that is the station conversion.
Yeah.
Was there a debate whether you guys would keep the station or tear it down, or was it always a plan to keep the station and just remodel it?
I believe it was because, again, of that quick turn, that the concept of this ride was as late as early last summer, and usually you have a lot more lead time on that. So the ability to turn the ride around in that quick a time, to offer it tomorrow, open to the public, it was contingent. It hinged on using the existing station, the existing queue line, the elements that were here, and the fact that it was a cleared space from when Iron Wolf had come out a couple years ago. So that was an important part of it, and it was critical from the design stage and the planning of from concept to opening.
Okay, he's going to ask you one more question.
When I went to the construction tour in January, it was brought up to Brandon when you guys got rid of Iron Wolf. Was it already a plan to put a movie coaster here, or?
At that time when Iron Wolf went out, it wasn't planned yet. Considering the space, I think the idea was that we would be putting a coaster in. Again, talking about the Raging Cajun space, we're landlocked, so our land is at a premium here inside the park. So knowing that the space that was available would accommodate a roller coaster, it just wasn't clear as to when that would be. So this kind of expedited that. We didn't have at the time when Iron Wolf came out the plans for Goliath then. So again, concept coming together as quickly as last summer worked out great. So here we sit, and it's so exciting.
I have one more question about the show content here.
Yeah.
So will you guys? I know it's been mentioned. I believe Brandon is the one who mentioned it to me that you guys were actually considering reconfiguring the Dark Knight queue and returning Theater Royale.
Sure.
If that were to happen, how would it stand at this point? Does it seem possible, or?
It is possible, I'd say, because it was a conversion and there's not much more than the queue rails in there, so it's a possibility that could be converted back to a theater. I think it would just be a question of the need for it. You know, we still have Southwest Amphitheater right now, we still have a Grand Music Hall, housing a show, our primary show every year. So if we felt that there was a need for it, that we had a show to put in there, we've got that space available to us and we could convert it back fairly easily. You know, it wouldn't be a small project, but it could be done. So.
And how will you guys configure this area for tomorrow's opening?
I believe that they're going to use the existing queue that you see behind me here, and they're going to have some overflow in front of the train station there.
Okay.
They're still going to work a little bit on the tracks from the construction because that was going over a lot of the train tracks. So while they get the tracks ready to go, they're going to use the area in front of the train station for some overflow queuing. So I don't know. I believe it should be a couple of weeks down when they'll get that open. The train should open with a single trip around. With the opening in Hometown Square to load there, but I think this platform is going to be closed probably for, it might be a good month or so. Yeah, so I think it's going to be a full trip around the park.
Yeah.
Okay, from one Franklinite to another, thank you.
Thanks, Nick.